The alarm blared at 5 a.m., but Rohan didn't move. He just lay there, staring at the ceiling, feeling that familiar weight on his chest. It had been there for months. Another day, another stark reminder that his dream of becoming a singer felt like it was slipping through his fingers. Like sand, he'd auditioned at least a dozen times in the last year, and they failed every single time. The rejection emails all blurred into one. "We regret to inform you," the first few stung, like a sharp slap to the face. But now, they just left him feeling numb. He seriously thought about quitting. Maybe he just wasn't good enough. Maybe it was time to pack it all in, find a real job, something stable. But as he lay there, a tiny whisper from deep inside said, "No." It wasn't a roar, just a faint, stubborn flicker, but it was enough. It was enough to make him sit up, to take a deep, shaky breath. He'd made a promise to himself. He would unquit until he had given his absolute, undeniable best. And deep down, he knew he wasn't there yet, not even close. So, he swung his legs out of bed, grabbed his old, battered guitar, and started to practice. His fingers ached, his voice cracked with exhaustion, but he sang anyway. He sang through the pain, through the doubt. During the day, Rohan worked at a small cafe to make ends meet. In between pouring coffees and clearing tables, he'd scribble lyrics on napkins and hum quiet tunes under his breath. His colleagues would often tease him. "Rohan, you've been chasing this for years," they'd say. "Don't you ever get tired?" He'd just offer a small smile and reply, "Maybe." But giving up would hurt a lot more. Every single night, after his long shift, he'd drag himself to small open mics scattered around the city. Sometimes, the audience was just 3 people nursing their drinks. Sometimes, no one even clapped. But he showed up. He always showed up. He understood a fundamental truth. Consistency is stronger than talent when talent stops trying. One evening, after a particularly rough day, he was performing at a cafe when the sound system suddenly died, right in the middle of his song. The small crowd grew restless, whispering he could have stopped. He could have apologized and walked off stage, defeated, but he didn't. Instead, he unplugged his guitar, stepped down from the low stage, and walked right into the middle of the small audience. He started singing right there, among the people. No mic, no amp, just his voice and his guitar. His voice trembled, raw with emotion, but his passion was undeniable. It filled the small room. When he finished the last chord, there was a moment of stunned silence, and then the room erupted in applause. Real, heartfelt applause. For the first time in a long, long while. Hisaho reflected back at him. In their eyes, that night, as he walked home, soaked by a sudden downpour, Rohan smiled. A real, genuine smile. He realized something profound. Success wasn't just about getting a record deal or being discovered. It was about refusing to disappear. It was about the sheer, stubborn act of showing up. He decided then and there, no matter what happened, he would not give up and made a plan. For the next 6 months, he would record his own songs and release them online. He had no fancy studio, no expensive equipment. All he had was his voice, his guitar, and a cheap microphone he borrowed from a friend. He worked late into the night, every night writing, recording, editing, learning everything he could from scratch. The process was exhausting, but it was his. It was something he could control. The first song he uploaded got barely 20 views. The second, maybe 50. The third finally crept up to 100. His friends, meaning well, told him it wasn't worth the effort. "No one is listening, man," they'd say. But he kept going, because he started to believe that sometimes the universe just wants to test how badly you want something before it hands it to you. And then, one ordinary day, everything changed. A popular content creator stumbled upon one of his songs. They shared it on their page with a simple caption, "Raw and honest." Within days, his video exploded, hitting 10,000 views. Then 20. Then 50. Messages started pouring in from total strangers, from all over the world. People telling him how his music, His story gave them hope. Rohan was completely overwhelmed. For years, he had been singing his heart out to empty rooms. Now, finally, people were listening. But he'd been 10. It wasn't a straight line to the top. His next few songs didn't get nearly as much attention. The old, familiar doubts began to creep back into the corners of his mind. But this time, he fought them differently. Instead of asking that destructive question, "Why is this happening to me?" he started asking a better one. "What can I learn from this?" That simple shift in mindset became his superpower. He learned that not giving up isn't about being fearless. It's about being terrified and doing it anyway. It's about continuing despite the fear. Months later, he got an invitation to perform at a local music festival. It wasn't a massive headlining slot, but it was the biggest stage he had ever stood on. As he stood in the wings, looking out at the waiting crowd, he remembered every sleepless night, every rejection letter, every single time he almost quit. He took a deep breath and whispered to himself, This is what not giving up feels like." Then he walked out on that stage and sang like he had absolutely nothing to lose. His voice carried the weight of years of struggle, of pain, of hope, and of relentless persistence. When he finished, the crowd was on their feet, giving him a standing ovation. For the first time, he felt tears welling up in his eyes. Not tears of sadness, but of pure, overwhelming gratitude. After that performance, opportunities finally started to open up. He began performing regularly. His online following grew, and he even got to record in a professional studio. But he never, ever forgot where it all started. In that small cafe, with a failing sound system and a heart that simply refused to be silenced. One day, during an interview, a reporter asked him, "What kept you going when everything seemed so impossible?" Rohan smiled, that familiar smile. "Because I realized that success doesn't always come to the most talented," he said. "It comes to those who stay when everyone else walks away. I failed more times than I can count, but every single failure taught me something important. Giving up. Giving up teaches you nothing." As the years went by, Rohan's story became an inspiration. He started mentoring young, aspiring musicians, and he'd often tell them, "The power of not giving up is stronger than you can possibly imagine. It's the force that turns failure into growth, and doubt into belief. Every time you choose to get back up, you are literally rewriting your own story." One evening, after a huge concert, Rohan sat alone in his dressing room. The roar of the crowd still echoed in the distance, but his mind wandered back to his youngest self. That boy sitting alone in a dark room, clutching a rejection letter, on the very edge of quitting. He wished he could go back in time and tell that boy, "Just hold on. Please, just hold on. One day, you will thank yourself for not giving up." The truth is, most people quit right before their big break. They give up because they mistake slow progress for no progress. But the lesson Rohan learned, the lesson for all of us, is that persistence is its own form of power. Not giving up doesn't mean you never fall down. It means you rise every single time you do. It's not about instant success. It's about constant, unwavering effort. So, the next time you feel like everything is falling apart, when nothing seems to be working, and when the entire world seems to be screaming at you to stop, remember Rohan. Remember that your breakthrough might just be one more step away. Keep showing up. Keep practicing. Keep believing. Because the real power in your life lies not in never failing, but in never, ever giving up. The moment you decide to keep going is the moment your story truly begins to change. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more content just like this. We'll see you in the next one.